Question that has always struck my nerve is why are we not learning anything useful in school? Usually, the context is a disgruntled student complaining about being forced to study something they do not value or will not be practical in their life. In my experience, the quadratic equation is a common scapegoat, as the rigorous mathematical calculations required to solve problems ordinary people would never ask for is obviously a waste of time and mental resources. Furthermore, a remark often paired with the previous sentiment is why don't we learn something useful, like doing taxes? At the heart of these comments is a twofold frustration with the education model. First, students are not being equipped with practical skills they will later be forced to learn in adulthood. And second, students are being filled with extraneous pieces of information that most likely will not serve a useful purpose. I find this to be an understandable sentiment since stems from a feeling of betrayal, annoyance, or even anger at the education system for not fulfilling its purpose. And what is the purpose of education? I think modern society assumes that it to be agreed upon and obvious to prepare adolescents for life by giving them things they should know to succeed. While I agree with the general sentiment of this belief, I think that education's primary purpose is not simply pragmatic. The assumed value assessment of what we deem useful information is problematic and not the most fruitful or beneficial conclusion for individuals. Moreover, I think it unwise to commodify education through primarily framing and assessing things learned by their usefulness. Rather, I would like to propose and consider an alternative attitude that is waning in education philosophy, the classical model. The classical model refers to the education system used in antiquity. The Greeks were the first to develop a formal, successful education system in the Western world, with the Romans later following suit. Although I could do a deeper dive into this education system and research and study more about the tenets of classical education, that is outside the scope of this project, as outlined in the previous essay. In this essay, I want to focus on the attitude towards education, not necessarily education itself. The aim of classical education is to develop students' ability to think well and to show them how to live wisely. The system provides students with a robust set of subjects to equip students with a diversity of styles of thinking, but also intellectual skills cultivated through learning these subjects. I like to think of education as a kind of tool belt, with each subject being a tool. Education teaches you how to use the tools that you can build whatever it is you seek, rather than shoving a blueprint in front of your face and teaching you how to build that thing. As a society, I think we recognize this. However, we have resorted to creating several blueprints and allowing students to pick which one or to try to encourage them to build something innovative when they do not even know how to use the things in their tool belts and are sheltered from the other things people have built in the past. The point of this illustration is that classical education is the best form to achieve maximal liberty in our lives that is not controlled nor measured in the physical events or circumstances experienced. I would like to close with a reflection on the etymology of the word education. Education comes from the Latin verb educare, which means to draw out. I find this quite ironic as we have adopted the opposite mentality that education is filling students with useful and mostly useless things. Perhaps the problem with education is not merely the infrastructure, but that we are forcing it to be something it is not to attain the results it does not produce. We have it backwards. We should not think of education and as filling the minds of students with information, but rather drawing out their best by equipping them with the tools to think well and live wisely. Education is not just concerned with how to survive each day, but how to live each day in a way that will cause you and your society to flourish. The aim of education is not merely to protect your life, but to empower it to become beautiful and winsome, and importantly, yours.